Hey, welcome to Real Talk, where I give real answers to real questions from real worship leaders. If you are a real worship leader with a real question and you want a real answer, submit your question right here, and it might be on a future episode. Got some great questions as always this week. Let's talk about it. How do you go about teaching/helping your vocalists to learn better stage presence? We've got some incredibly talented singers, but a few of them have awkward stage presence. One of them looks like he's constipated the whole time, or one of them looks like a sociopathic statue. I'm not sure what that means. Or one of them looks like they're auditioning for a show that's a combination of The Voice and Ninja Warrior. They're doing that worship shop thing, I bet. We just want to help them grow in that area. So how do you do it? We do have live stream footage we can use, but I'm curious how to go about saying, hey, watch yourself here and work on not looking like this. Like, how do you offer critique without sounding superficial or overly critical when it comes to this? Stage presence. Is it important? Is it something that we should focus on as a worship team? Because I hear a lot of people and they're like, we aren't rock stars, so we don't need to look a certain way on the stage. And here's how I would like to, if you will be so kind to allow me to reframe the conversation, is that what stage presence is stage presence is modeling worship for other people. I think that is the better way to address it with your team, because then you aren't saying we have to look a certain way when we lead worship. We don't have to be jumping up and down and look exciting. What we're doing when we are on stage is we are modeling worship for other people. So I think that is a helpful way to start the conversation, and maybe some night at worship rehearsal, you start that conversation and you tell your team, hey, our job isn't just to lead songs up here, but we're also to be modeling worship for the other people in our church, so that when people look on stage and they see us on Sunday, they aren't just seeing a bunch of people who are playing songs with their heads in their music stand, but they are seeing people who are worshiping God. And part of that conversation, I want to be very careful here, part of that conversation is that not everybody's worship looks the same, but whatever your worship looks like, that's how you should be looking on stage, because what we're doing on stage is worship. And so that's how I would frame the conversation with my team and then lead in. So let's see if we are modeling worship. And that is sort of the open door to get into, we have a live stream. What if we pulled up our live stream and we went through the awkward exercise of watching ourselves and seeing how we could better model worship for our church? And then you watch a song from the previous week and say, look at yourself here and just see what you look like. See what you are communicating, not just with your words, not just with your music, but with your body. And I would guarantee that 97% of people have never watched themselves lead worship before, or at least looked at it for more than 30 seconds. And I think that is all you need to help people recognize what they're doing, because most people are self-conscious, most people are self-critical, and they will adjust whatever they need to adjust on their own, and they will be like, man, I look kind of weird whenever I'm doing that thing, and that's not what I want to communicate to the people of my church, and so they will change it on their own. So I would definitely start there. And I think if you just teach them with that understanding in mind, that we aren't doing stage presence to put on a show, even though that is the colloquial term, is stage presence. What it is modeling worship for the people of our church. And I think that will be enough to start people on the journey of fixing whatever seems awkward whenever they're on stage. Quick question: when introducing a new song, how often should you play it? Ours is literally 2 weeks straight. How would you go about it? When I introduce a new song, my typical rhythm is 3 weeks on, 1 week off, into a regular rotation. And the reason that I do that is because the first time we play it, people don't know it, they need to learn it. The second time we play it, the people of my church, they have only heard it once, so they still don't know it, so they're starting to catch on to it. Week number 3, hopefully they have finally learned it at that point, at least to the point where they can start to sing along with us, and then it just feels awkward to do it 4 times in a row, so I take a week off, because then it's not like, man, we've done this song for an entire month. Although that is a valid method as well, if you have a reason that you're singing it. I'll talk about that more here in a second. But I do 3 weeks on, first week teach it, second week teach it a little bit more so that they can start singing along. Third week, hopefully they sing along. Fourth week, don't do it. And then probably the fifth week, I would do it just to reinforce that song one more time. Now, when it comes to introducing new songs, I think one of the methods that you could use is to tie a new song to a message series that your pastor is doing. And then you have a reason to do the song every single week during that message series. So if your pastor's message series is 4 weeks long, then you can do it 4 weeks because you say, hey, this is a new song. Like, I wouldn't communicate it quite this way, but essentially what you'd say is, this is a new song for this series that we're in. We're going to sing it every single week. So let's learn it together. That's the first week. And then the second week, the people know. And by the time they get to the fourth week, then not only do they know that song, but now they have a whole message series tied in subconsciously in their mind to that song. And anytime you sing that song in the future, whatever your pastor taught on, hopefully will be brought up in their mind, and then you don't have to explain the song as much. Sometimes I feel like we wish that we could explain worship songs more and what they mean, and one of the ways you could do that is to tie it to a message series, and then anytime you sing that song, the series will be instantly brought to mind and add context to the song that you sang. I need some advice. About a year and a half ago, I was put to be the point person over the youth ministry's worship team in my church, consisting of 15 people. Personally, I'm pretty close with pretty much everyone on the team, and we just added 4 new people on the team and are currently looking to add 3 more, all consisting from ages 13 to 25. Some are students, some are youth leaders. However, lately, I've been noticing within the team over-familiarity and people not taking me seriously as their leader. Many people declining last minute without reasoning, people not knowing what the set list is, even though I sent it to them during the week, people not answering when I communicate with them about what the set list will be or what we will be doing, and pretty much lacking respect. It's not everyone on the team, but it is a good majority. I've considered mentioning this with my worship pastor and or youth director, but just having one-on-one conversations with the people who do and setting down expectations. I'm usually the type of person who will confront someone when needed, but in these moments, I think it is needed. I understand that I am their friend and want to have that close relationship with them, but at the same time, I do want to be respected because I am their leader. However, I'm not receiving respect at all. That is no doubt a tough situation, and it's actually a situation that I have been in pretty much every time that I've led a worship team. And I don't think that it's necessarily a bad thing. I think that it is actually more advantageous to be friends with the people on your worship team than for you to just be their leader. So before you automatically wish that these were just some random people that you were tasked with leading and you didn't know them that well, that is not the solution either. I've been in this situation several times. Growing up, when I first started leading worship, I became the worship team leader. I was 16, 17 at the time, and the worship team were a bunch of people that I had grown up going to church with. I was friends with them all. 4 of them were my family members: my dad, my mom, my brother, and my sister. So add some even more awkwardness there, right? Next church that I led at was my brother was on the worship team. One of my best friends was the co-worship leader with me. And then there were a couple other people who I was close friends with. So I tell you that because I've been in this situation before. And I think that I've probably felt that feeling to some degree where it's like, I'm just friends with these people. Do they respect me? And so what do you do to garner respect? And first of all, I think it has to do with setting your expectations of what respect needs to look like. I think of it like a parent-child relationship. The parent-child relationship is not always this way, but like a parent wants to be friendly to their children, but they also understand the need that sometimes they have to be the parent. And so it's not always we're going to play and have fun and you get to do whatever you want. Sometimes you have to say, this is the way that it needs to be. And so you put your foot down in certain areas. And I feel like, in a sense, being a worship team leader with a team with a bunch of friends is kind of like that way too. Like, think of yourself almost in a parent-esque parent-child-esque relationship. Not 100%, but in the sense that you do want to be friends with them, but you also need to do what needs to be done to lead your worship ministry as well. Now, how do you garner respect from your worship team? I think the ways that I've done it in the past is to do everything that I do with excellence, like on my own. Everything that I do it with excellence, and people will see the excellence, the care, and the effort that you put into it, and they will respect that. I feel like that's how I've gotten respect with my friends. I think my friends, and when I've led my family on the worship team, like, they have respected what I do on the worship team because I think I do it with excellence. And they look at me as the leader because I am doing things with a degree of excellence that portrays myself, that reveals myself as the leader. So I think of, for example, if you're on a worship team and you're just treating it kind of however you want to, and I'm not saying that you're doing this specifically, but I've seen this in the past where you show up late to rehearsal and you never have the resources that they need because you're like, well, these are just my friends, so, they know me, they'll forgive me, like, this is just how we've always done it. So we show up to rehearsal and I hand out the chord sheets and tell them what songs they're doing then, because it's just a group of friends getting together. Like, sometimes the problem is that we need to take things more seriously and do things with excellence and start treating it as something serious and not just a bunch of friends getting together. So I think that will help you get respect if you view things in that way. I will tell you this, the solution is never saying to people, I need more respect. I need you to respect me. That is never the solution, because that just instantly pushes people away. That I don't think that's ever the right way to communicate something. You don't just tell people to respect you and then they respect you. You have to earn the respect. So are you doing things that earn the respect? And then I really think you need to look at treating your worship team not just as a bunch of friends, even though it is a bunch of friends, but don't just treat them as a bunch of friends. Treat it as a worship team, as a worship ministry that you are leading, and then realize that the benefit of that is that you have a bunch of friends on your team. Instead of saying, I have a bunch of friends and we get to do worship ministry together, say, I'm running a worship ministry and it's great because everybody on it I'm friends with. I hope you see the difference there and start viewing things that way and do things with your worship ministry in mind before you start making excuses for compromising in areas just because you're leading a group of friends. Also, you said something about how you were wondering if you should go talk to your worship pastor about it. Your worship pastor, I would hope, has oversight over this worship team that you're leading. So if you have a question, go to your worship pastor and ask them. Go to your lead pastor and ask them. That is why these people exist in your church, so that you can use them as a resource, as a means of guidance. They probably have more insight into your ministry than I do, because I don't know all the specifics of everything that's going on in your worship ministry, but they have lived with you for the past however many years, so go ask for their opinion. Don't be afraid. That is what they're there for. Now, if you need help building respect and doing things with excellence in your worship ministry, the best way you can do that, the first place to start is your worship rehearsal, and that's why I've linked down in the description below the worship rehearsal blueprint. In that, I will give you a step-by-step plan for your worship rehearsals to make sure that you lead your team well spiritually, relationally, and musically every single week, so that you can lead them with excellence. And when they see that you have a plan for your worship rehearsal and you take things seriously, they will start to respect you more. So check that out down in the description below. Also, if you have a question to ask for a future episode, head over to leadingworshipwell.com/realtalk and submit it there, and it might be on a future episode. Other than that, thanks so much for joining me. Till I see you in the next video. Keep leading worship well.